Hey there, survivors! How's it going? I'm your host Douglas here at Drownboy Productions, bringing you another Texas Chainsaw Massacre collecting video. Yes, this is going to be another Trick or Treat Studios mask review. Unfortunately, I don't have enough product ordered this year to do a full 31 days of Trick or Treat event like last year. I know, huge disappointment, and there's tons of new stuff coming out too, but we still do have some really awesome products to take a look at this year. And we're going to start off with something that isn't necessarily new, and I think I technically have reviewed this forever ago, but I took a look at the original version of this, and it has now been brought back. It's a bit different from the original, and we're actually going to be taking a look at the original and the new version of the mask. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. And I will say I do plan to review other versions of the Leatherface mask this year, but today we're going to go ahead and start it off strong with the Pretty Woman mask. This is the newer version of the mask, and here is the older one. So the copy on the left over here belongs to my friend Gavin. I do believe this is a 2018 copy if I recall correctly, and he told me that this was completely unaltered, exactly stock, and I know for a fact that he has not repainted it or anything like that. However, I don't really recall if these did come with an eyelash or not, so for those of you watching, let me know in the comment section down below. But let's go ahead and take a look at the new version, and then we'll talk about the differences between both. So here is the 2023 Trick or Treat Studios Gunnar Hansen Pretty Woman Leatherface mask. The side tag over here has a classic style poster, and on the back of the tag it will usually tell you who sculpted the mask. The entire trio of the original Leatherface masks in the Trick or Treat Studios lineup were all sculpted by Connor DeLess. Connor is an incredibly talented sculptor and mask artist. He has been in the hobby for many years now. However, he is most well known for being just very talented, far beyond his years at a very young age. And Connor's produced a ton of amazing stuff for Trick or Treat Studios. However, I'm pretty sure his Leatherface masks were actually sculpted just for himself before Trick or Treat Studios obtained the rights to the line. And then because they had done so much work with Connor and he had basically the best versions out there, they just went ahead and worked with him to produce his sculptures. There are a few differences with Connor's original artist version versus these. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of the stitches that are sculpted in were actually just stitched onto the actual masks. They're probably a little bit smaller than his originals. Maybe he did some size adjustments to make them bigger. But I've never seen or held one of his originals in person, but as far as the sculpture, I mean, these are pretty much spot on otherwise. Alright, let's talk about some of the actual features of the mask itself. As far as all the stitching on the mask, it is all just sculpted in and painted in. It looks pretty good in most areas, except for around the eye here. Some of the details kind of lost, and it doesn't really look like they attempted to paint on any of the stitching, so you kind of just have like folded and creased flesh there. But if you look around the sides of the neck, you will notice metal eyelets and actual leather lace, which is used to kind of like pull the mask together on the sides. I wouldn't necessarily call it strapping, because it's not really holding the mask on all that much. It just kind of pulls it tight. But the leather lace is a nice touch. I have no clue if this is vegan leather or normal leather, or if it really matters to most people that are collecting a Leatherface mask, but I guess it's at least worthy to note. Really outside of that, you just have the paint job and the hair. Now, the hair on this is actually very nice in my opinion. A lot of people don't like punched in hair, or rooted hair as it's called, which is kind of like a doll's hair. Many people prefer it just to be glued on so it can be pulled off and put back on easy. Some people prefer it like this for longevity, because with glue it can get weaker, it can get pulled off, whereas with this you would really have to work to yank the hair through the mask, and this is actually like very well applied in my opinion. So really no need to do any adjustments to the hair. If you really wanted to be picky, you could kind of pull off some of the hair and punch it in around the hairline to give it a bit more of like a realistic human hairline, but outside of that, in my opinion, it looks very nice. And the length of the hair, how curly it is, the way it's styled, looks really good in my opinion. And this is a nice full head of hair. It's not really bald. If you actually pull the hair apart and look like how they've laid it in lines, it's pretty full. It's not too spaced out. So then we just have the face paint to talk about. Overall, It's not 100% accurate, which if you're expecting movie accuracy with pretty much any kind of face paint or makeup on masks like this, at this point, you're delusional. Like, it's just not going to happen unless you're having an artist painstakingly try to make it look how it's supposed to. Overall, though, for stock paint job, it's not too bad, but it is very different from the original, which we will talk about here in just a second. So yeah, I guess that's really all there is to note about this one in specific. So let's take a look at this one really quickly. Obviously, pretty much same style latex. It does have the metal eyelets and the leather lace going through it. However, this one's been restrung incorrectly, or maybe that's how he picked it up. The hair, it looks like it's a bit further forward, not too much further, but just a bit. And it's much longer and straighter, like not nearly as curly compared to the curly hair on the newer version. This is much more accurate in my opinion. This still looks good, but this is much, much better. The coloring on the hair looks a bit different too. This one looks like a bit more of like a grayish brown, whereas this one is a bit more of a dark brown. Obviously, both of them do have like the gray hair streaks in the front, but this one overall just looks a bit more gray tone overall versus this hair. I don't know how well that's going to show up on camera. The eyebrow application on one side of these is pretty similar. The newer one looks a little bit bushier maybe, but I mean, really not too much of a difference at all. It's pretty much the same exact style application. Then this one does have the one eyelash. I'm not sure if that came stock. I'm almost certain that it didn't, and possibly my friend forgot adding it, but regardless, it is a very nice little addition there if you guys have some fake press-on eyelashes. So outside of the hair, the number one difference that we're seeing here is the paint job. This one overall, gray, bluish color. A lot more like exaggerated pink on the cheeks, blue around the eyes. Whereas with the newer paint job, I guess it's more of like a beige grayish flesh tone, whereas this is more of like a bluish gray. You can obviously see it side by side. The makeup is nowhere near as heavily applied. In fact, the pink is almost non-existent on the cheeks of the new one. The blue is also super, super faint versus the older version where it's very noticeable. The red on the mouth here is a pretty opaque, like darker red, whereas this one's more of like a real red. And both of them have this kind of shiny, pearlescent finish to them, but this one, it looks like it was added before the red lipstick was done, and this one looks like it was done afterwards. Overall, both of them look very good. I don't know which one I would prefer paint job wise because I like both of them quite a bit. I kind of like the exaggerated look on this one, but with this one not being so exaggerated, it does leave room for you to actually add more makeup yourself if you want to make it a bit darker, or if you like it lighter like this, you can leave it just so. Now, for those of you who don't know, the original masks were created by Robert Burns, and they were made with fiberglass and latex, and they look very, very crispy today. These are made with just latex. Obviously, you're not going to get a fiberglass latex replica mass manufactured. But as far as it being a Pretty Woman mask mass manufactured, there haven't been too many, and the ones that have been done previously, in my opinion, are very, very lackluster. I always try to read the write-up from the Trick or Treat Studios website when I do these reviews now, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974 Leatherface Pretty Woman Mask for $59.99. Sculpted by Connor DeLess, this mask is based on the final reel of the 1974 horror classic The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when Leatherface chases Sally just before she escapes in the bed of the truck. Every detail of Leatherface is captured in this amazing latex mask. So get yourself the official Leatherface 1974 Pretty Woman, is what it says. Pretty sure you meant Pretty Woman. Mask and stalk your neighborhood this Halloween night. So yeah, there you go. For $59.99, you absolutely cannot beat this. Considering I think Connor's copies, if you could find someone to sell them to you, were going for like $500-600 plus each. To get these for $60 is absolutely insane. To be honest, getting pretty much any deluxe latex mask like this with hair, and especially this much of it, for $60 is a great deal. But when you consider the leather lace, the eyelets, etc., this is overall a really, really great pickup. Personally, I prefer this version over the other Leatherface masks, at least from the original. You guys can let me know in the comment section down below. Which one do you prefer? The Killing Mask, the Grandma Mask, or the Pretty Woman Mask? But yeah, since it was my favorite, I wanted to go ahead and cover this one first, but we will be taking a look at several other Leatherface masks from Trick or Treat Studios this Halloween season. So with that being said, I love you all, I hope you enjoyed today's video, thank you for watching, and see you next time.